Hello, everyone. This is Katrin with Disability Rights New York. Welcome to our podcast, Empire State of Rights Closed Captioned. We are here to bring you information on the most relevant topics regarding disability rights and advocacy. Today, we have with us Christy Asbee, PAAT PAVA Director here at DRNY. She's here to discuss DRNY's stance on the ICE Dominion Ballot Marking Device. Christy, before we get started, can you explain to us what a BMD is and the importance of it for accessible voting?
Yes, a BMD is a machine that allows a voter with a disability to mark a ballot privately and independently. It's essentially a computer that allows an individual with a disability to use certain features such as a sip and puff or a paddle device to mark a ballot so that they can vote privately and independently. That being said, anyone can use a ballot marking device if they would like to vote in that way.
Okay, so ICE Dominion is a company that's trying to get a new kind of BMD certified through New York State. What are DRNY's main concerns with the Dominion ImageCast Evolution, or ICE BMD, as it stands right now?
The ICE BMD has a critical design flaw that impacts voters with disabilities who need or want to use this device to mark their ballot. During a public demonstration on July 2nd, 2018, that DRNY staff and several constituents attended, we noticed a critical design flaw in the device itself. The device only has one access point to both scan ballots that are hand-marked as well as provide the services that a BMD provides, which are...
And that's different. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's different from the way that it is right now, right?
Right. Right now, the device that is used, that is provided, that is manufactured by Dominion, it has two access points. It has a scanning side, and it also has a BMD side. If your polling location generally has a black device, a big black device, half of the front half of that device is generally a scanner device, and the back half of that device is the BMD side. It has a computer monitor and it has all the attachments there at the back. That side is the BMD side that people who want to use the BMD will use that side. At the same time, people can scan their ballots while the BMD is in use. With this particular device that is going through the certification process, there is only one area, one side, only a front side. There is no back side to this device. So you have the computer screen and you have the scanner as the same side. It's the same component parts to that.
So only one voter at a time.
Right, one voter at a time. And in some cases, it can take between 15 and 45 minutes. I mean, I would just say that that's average. If there are issues with the device itself or complications that are quite frankly foreseeable, both on the computer functionality side as well as user error side, sometimes it can take hours to get this device up and running so that a individual wanting to use the BMD function is able to then cast their ballot using the BMD function.
And so with that time allotment, what is the concern from DRNY about this particular machine? Tell us about the critical flaw as far as how that affects voters.
Well, this means that a voter using the ICE BMD to mark their ballot must essentially interrupt the device's scanning capability. In other words, the ICE device can only function as a BMD or a ballot scanner. It can't function as both at the same time. If a voter with a hand-marked ballot wants to scan their ballot and leave the polling place, and somebody is using the BMD or somebody is being set up to use the BMD feature of the ICE device, they that voter with the hand-marked ballot must wait for the entire session. This device only functions with one user at a time. So a BMD user, it is going to essentially take time to use the BMD feature, and that time that they take will essentially delay the other voters who either want to use the BMD or who have hand-marked ballots that need to scan their ballot.
Okay, so can you tell us, how is this the critical flaw? How does this affect voter accessibility?
It's our experience that already with the devices that are out there, they are used, but the bottom line is they have to be available for all federal elections and to meet state requirements for accessibility. They already have problems getting poll workers to understand the importance of making sure that the BMDs are up and running, making sure that poll workers have the proper training so that when somebody wants to use the BMD, they have the opportunity to use it because somebody knows how to set the BMD up. So we already see that in some polling locations and in some counties across New York State, poll workers don't understand exactly how to use the current BMD. So to expect a poll worker to be able to have the training and interrupt the flow of their polling location causes DRNY concern.
So you'll have a lot of people waiting for a long time if there's only one area to put your ballot in.
Right. That's our fear, and that's what we anticipate. We already see problems at polling locations regarding access to the BMD. So having a single device, both as the BMD and the scanner, will only cause more concern for DRNY because this single access point will cause significant stress on a voter who's using the BMD because people will be waiting right behind that person, and it will also negatively impact the voting experience for the entire community. Poll workers may ultimately discourage people from using the BMD to cast their ballot simply because it disrupts the flow of their polling location. And that's the real concern that DRNY has.
That is very concerning. So how is DRNY addressing these issues?
We've reached out several times to the New York State Board of Elections. They are overseeing the certification process of this device. They oversee the certification process of every device, every scanner, BM and or BMD. We've also been in contact with the company that manufactures the ICE device. That company's name is Dominion. They are based out of Toronto, and we are in communication with them. We're hoping for positive, collaborative communications and conversations that will ultimately lead to real changes in how Dominion makes and designs their product.
So now, how can the public get involved with the BMD certification process, and who can they contact if they have questions or if they want to submit comments or make their voice heard?
DRNY recommends that you submit your comments to the New York State Board of Elections. You can simply write an email or you can call them. The information is available on our public statement. You can also reach out directly to DRNY if you're interested in learning more from our PAVA team about what we're doing and about how the PAVA team wants to positively impact the voting community.
And so Election Day is only 3 or 4 weeks away. If people have questions about voting or how they can access their polling site, or if they need to have questions answered, they can also contact DRNY if they need to?
Yes, we encourage people to contact DRNY if they're interested in learning more about how they can get involved in the voting process, or if you have concerns about your own polling location that you want to address before Election Day, please reach out to DRNY and our PAVA team can review your issue.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's just invaluable information. Christy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll now speak to two other attendees of the ICE BMD demonstration that was held on July 2nd at the New York State Board of Elections. We first have Michael Orzel, self-advocate and OPWDD's National Voter Registration Act statewide coordinator. Michael, can you tell us what your experience at the New York State Board of Elections demonstration of this voting device was like?
My voting experience was the winning ICE BMD was at first easy because a person could vote with the device in an independent way, which is how everybody should vote. But then, if you think about it, how they made the BMD was totally wrong, because the area that you put in your ballot for the machine to count whoever you vote for is on the same side as the BMDs. So it necessitates that a person will insert his or her ballot when the other person is using the BMDs, and this is totally wrong, because when a person uses the BMD, he or she usually takes up more time because the selection process is so complicated. But in the meantime, other people that don't use the BMDs will have to wait for the person to finish before sticking their ballots into the reader, and this is not acceptable because it will make the people that don't need a BMD to completely wait for the person to be done with the BMD.
So the one-sided ICE Dominion BMD isn't going to be accessible. We only have one side to use it.
Right. So the designer of the system did not take the whole voting experience into consideration when designing the BMDs.
So outside of the one-sided area on the BMD, do you have any other concerns about accessibility issues with this Dominion ICE device?
Me personally, with the other video screen that is connected to the BMD. Really, I don't see why that is necessary, because one person could use the BMDs at one time. So why is it that they have two video screens for a BMD? It's useless in my opinion.
That's a lot of great information, Michael. Thank you so much for your time today and your input on this.
Thank you.
We'll welcome our next guest, Blaise Bryant. He is a self-advocate and the Communications and Outreach Associate at Consumer Directed Choices, Inc. Blaise, how are you today?
Katrin, thank you so much for having me, and Grace, great to see you as well. I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So we're going to talk about the ICE Dominion demonstration that was on July 2nd at the New York State Board of Elections. Can you tell us how your experience was that day of this, the demonstration they did of the new voting device?
I'm going to preface by saying I live in Albany County and I'm used to the AutoMark machine, and I was very enthused about coming to see the Dominion ICE machine because I had never seen a Dominion machine or the ImageCast machine. So curiosity was the main selling point for me initially. When I came to the Albany BOE over at 40 North Pearl, just a little down the road from here, I obviously got to see the device, and right away I was just like, I certainly prefer the AutoMark because of its efficiency. And what was happening with the ICE machine is that there would just be one huge line, and I am going to be general before I get specific here. At Consumer Directed Choices, we work with seniors and people with disabilities. We have 900 consumers that employ over 2,000 personal assistants. And my first thought when I saw how much of a line there would be and how much of a process it is, because you'd have to go back over to the ballot printer and grab the ballot, and scanning the ballot, the way that was done is a privacy issue as well. And some of our consumers may not have the needs to do that. And that is on top of potentially waiting for a bit, dealing with poll workers who are very well-intended, nice people. However, they may not have necessarily received the proper training from the Board of Elections on how to work with and interact with people with disabilities. And now on the more specific note, while I could do it, I just felt kind of lost. And I am used to the efficiency of the AutoMark device where everything is right there. You just take a couple steps over and you feed your ballot into the machine and you raise your hand and wait for a poll worker to see you and come find you, and then you can be on your merry way.
And so the experience with this demonstration, you got a little bit more specific in your experience with it. Can you talk a little bit about what your other concerns are with this ICE Dominion in reference to or in relation to the one you're used to or any other BMDs you may have seen in the past?
I thought the labeling on the Dominion for someone who is blind, like myself, is fine. In the demonstration, they had to manipulate and maneuver the sip and puff machine for the other person, Michael, who is giving feedback here on the podcast about the Dominion ICE machine. And my thought was, you have to do all this manipulating and maneuvering for a demo? What's it going to be like when you have poll workers who don't know sometimes that there's an accessible machine. B, they don't know how to work the accessible machine. And C, the lines with voting that just voting in general creates, what is that going to be like? That has disaster written all over it.
So efficiency seems to be a theme here, that it's inefficient at best.
That is a very nice way of putting it, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Blaise, for coming in and talking to us today about your experience. Is there anything else you want to let us know about while you're here today?
I just want to say a couple of things. One, I do a podcast, and we do some disability rights and advocacy-oriented stuff. It's called The Blaise Bryant Show, BLAISE Bryant Show, BRYANT, BlaiseBryantShow.com, the website, Facebook.com/Blaise Bryant Show, and on Twitter at Blaise, that's BLAISE, Big Show. And I also want to be perfectly clear. We have an election that's coming up in less than a month, and do not use inaccessibility as an excuse to not vote. If you're registered to vote, you need to vote as if your life depends on it. And I say that to just be perfectly clear that you need to, be informed and to make the choices that you want to make and vote for who you think is going to be the best person, not necessarily the party that you are affiliated with.
Blaise, thank you so much, and we will list those links of yours on our YouTube channel. Thanks again so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Empire State of Rights Closed Caption has been brought to you by Disability Rights New York, your source for disability rights and advocacy. If you enjoyed our program, and we hope you did, please subscribe, like, and share this post. If there is a subject you would like us to discuss, please email podcast@drny.org. Tune in next time, where we'll bring you more information on disability rights in the state of New York. The closed captioned version of this podcast is available on our YouTube channel.